Hi, everybody. My name is Lisa Kessler, and I am so excited to be here today on behalf of Cheers for Charity New Hampshire. And I get to be here with my dear friend Joanne Burchuk. Hey, Joanne.
Hey, Lisa. And well, you didn't blow the news, but this episode, and we're so happy to have Molly on for this one, is our 100th episode of Cheers for Charity.
Yay!
How
Oh, what an
awesome is
honor.
that? And the funny thing is that our list is still so long. Like we are blown away every week by how many amazing charities there are out there, and we keep meeting more and more, and so we are going to just keep on going. I'm Joanne Burchuk. I'm with Lighthouse Physical Therapy, and today on Cheers for Charity we have the lovely Molly, who is with GoodWorks, and we're so excited to have Molly. She is such a force. If somebody in the nonprofit world out there does not know Molly yet, you need to know Molly. And please, Molly, you introduce yourself and tell them what you do.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Well, first off, congratulations to the two of you. 100 episodes. That is amazing. And you guys have brought so much to the nonprofit sector in terms of shedding a light on all the good work that's happening in our community. It's special to be number 100. Um, so as Lisa and Joanne said, I'm Molly Hodgson. I have the honor of serving as the CEO of GoodWork, which is a nonprofit incubator. We provide customized strategic support to early stage startup and idea phase nonprofit organizations. So many of the organizations that you've had on your show prior.
In addition, you help those that have already been around too.
Yeah, we're doing a little bit of both. So we're brand new ourselves. I mean, the incubator, we're only going into our fourth year. The first year was very much behind the scenes and creating the organization, and then of course we went virtual very quickly after that. And so we've we've brought three cohorts, is how we refer to them, through the incubator process. And essentially, we're still building the plane, while we fly it. So we're a grand experiment, and we're testing the model. And we hope by perhaps our fifth year or so to expand beyond just those folks that are in their early stages of their life cycle, and perhaps get beyond. We really try not to say no to anyone. We'll have a conversation with anyone, whether they're in our geographic footprint or not, because one of the things we're doing is gathering data around the sector. Who's out there, who's forming, who's thinking about going down the nonprofit path. And so it's important for us to gather all that data so that we can make a case for, what the demand is and what the needs are. And in terms of what the cohort experience is, a lot of people ask, so what is it all about? And while it's still evolving, there are some basic elements. We provide educational programming, so anything that a nonprofit would need to know to start. So that could look like, developing a budget, creating a business plan, doing some fund development, some basic foundational fund development work, board governance, and recruiting, all the issues that you hear about in your conversations with nonprofits. So we do that. We provide individual coaching to the leader of each organization and perhaps their board chair. We provide a mentor to every organization that participates in the program. So they are matched with a seasoned nonprofit professional that is handpicked for them according to their personality, according to what their needs are, according to what area they're serving, whether it be environmental, arts and culture, social services. And there are so many exceptional nonprofit leaders in our region that it's really fun for us to be able to match a new green starting director with someone who really knows the sector and knows sort of the lay of the land. And then we also match our people with what we call professional partners, of which Lisa, you are one of, and those are professionals in the business community that have a particular skill set, legal, accounting, insurance, whatever it may be, so that if that organization has a particular question or they need to be walked through something, and Lisa, I know that you have done that for a handful of our folks, it's just sort of kind of having someone on call to provide that support. And it really can look like anything from a quick phone call to get some clarification on an issue, to sitting down with one of our participants for a couple of hours and really, walking them through something that they're struggling with. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we get to do all of that in this really beautiful, inspirational space called Carey Cottage. And that has become an integral part of who we are and what we do, because so many of these organizations are operating off of a kitchen table. And so to be able to come and meet and work in this gorgeous historic home on the water is just a gift. And as soon as people walk in the door, you can just see their vibe change, and there's a lot of natural collaboration that's happening here when we just put people in a room together and let them go. So it's a great it's the perfect job for me as someone who, this is the organization, you've heard me say it, that I wish existed when I was a young startup leader of a nonprofit myself. So it's a real pay it forward opportunity on all fronts.
That's great. And I have had the privilege of being out to the cottage, and it's amazing. And it's nice you have space there for, some of the nonprofits they actually have their office there and facilities. It just looks like such a great environment for them to connect with other people and to help, answer questions and, get themselves going.
Right. And in addition to the nonprofits that have office space here, we have given thousands and thousands of dollars away in community meeting space to any nonprofit. So our policy is that a nonprofit can have 2 hours a month of free meeting space. They just have to schedule it with us in advance. And so, again, we're being a hub for strategic planning, for board retreats, for fundraising efforts. And, to have this kind of activity happening in the community, it's just a ripple effect of what that does for these organizations and their morale. And it's really been fun to watch, just going into our, third cohort, the kind of peer-to-peer learning that's happening as well. We're not the ones with all the answers, but we help them find the answers in themselves or through peer-to-peer learning in the cohort. That's been a new element that we've added this year, and it's been really well received because, most of these organizations are bumping up against the same challenges. And so to hear, oh, well, this is what I tried, or have you considered this? And, sort of creating a community of support versus the isolation that often comes with, being a solo social entrepreneur. Oftentimes these ideas are hatched out as a result of a personal experience, or we try to get them to lift their head up a little bit and look around and take a look at what's happening in the community overall, to make sure that we don't duplicate efforts, because it is a small community and there is limited funding, as we all know. And so it's important to sort of cross-pollinate all of these organizations. I have to imagine that in these conversations that you're having through Cheers for Charity, you're hearing a lot of the same things, right? And so we're trying to make sure that there's a higher level conversation that's happening.
This is amazing, Molly, and I love what you guys do. It's such important work, and I've talked to some of the people who've had the privilege to be part of your cohorts, and they gush about the experience. How does someone become a member of one of the cohorts?
Sure. So right now, it's we put out a word when we're opening up the application process. We're settling into a rhythm of about an 18 to 24 month experience. At first, we thought it might be annually, but we're realizing that we're taking a pretty deep dive with these folks, and we want to really highly customize that experience. It's not a one size fits all kind of thing. So that takes some time. You're building trust, you're establishing relationships, and the coaching is growing and evolving. So we anticipate that we'll be opening up the application process at probably the middle to end of next year again. And there is information on our website, of course, goodworkseacoast.org. There's a landing page where you can see how to apply. You submit a letter of intent that asks some basic questions about where you're at. And it's really important for folks to know that you don't have to have all the answers. We expect you not to have all the answers, right? Because that's why you're coming to us, and that's why we're here. So a lot of people get a little shy about like, oh, well, I don't have this and I haven't done that. Well, that's great. You're in the right place, because there's no wrong answer. So we just we look for things like, are they fully dedicated and committed to seeing it through? Do they understand the level of commitment it's going to take? Do they have have they done a little bit of research at least? We'll help them along the way with some of the more comprehensive research, but have they done an assessment of the community and determined that there is a demand and a need for what they're and sometimes they'll pivot. They'll find out what they originally went in thinking was the need actually isn't the need. And it takes a really strong and social entrepreneur to see that and shift and say, wow, I thought it was this, but I'm seeing underlying issues that if we can get at that. So all of that criteria, and I use criteria loosely because they're more parameters. They're typically an organization that we serve is under 5 years old. They have probably either newly registered as a C3 or they haven't yet and they're still determining what the best path forward is. So that Lisa can be all found at the website, and shoot me an email or call. Our contact information is there, of course, as well, because like I said, we'll talk to anybody, even if it's just a 30-minute phone call, just to assess your needs. And sometimes we can just get you some preliminary resources even without being a full cohort member. We typically try to facilitate at least 3 or 4 introductions just to help you along your way.
It's so much information. I'm trying to take it all in because I just know.
I know.
It's a lot.
It is.
Yeah, I bet.
And how many people are in a cohort?
Right. Our first several have been somewhere in the ballpark of 10 to 12. That seems to be a manageable group that that we can do some group learning, that peer-to-peer thing I mentioned, but also have the capacity, being that it's just Marie and I now as the primary business coaches, so that we can work one-on-one. We kind of split that load. And we work one-on-one with each organization. And that's the real knee-to-knee kind of getting into the depth of it. We're often asked, how we differentiate from the very valuable resource, the New Hampshire Center for Nonprofits, which we partner and collaborate with regularly. And what we often will say is the center is such a rich arsenal of training and workshops and conferences and roundtables. And we will often pay for our folks to go through some of that programming and professional development. But then you come back from something like that and you're all fired up and you've learned so much and you're at your desk by yourself and you're like, oh gosh, how do I do this? And that's where GoodWork can be really instrumental, is to, accompany you alongside and sit with you and take you through some of those teachings and help you implement. So, we say that we really, we're not afraid to, get in and get messy with it and allow you to get real about some of the struggles that you're dealing with, because it's challenging, and we're as much of an emotional support as we are a business support at the end of the day.
This is fantastic.
Now,
Any
what-
questions?
for your organization, because you support all of these people, what are you finding your biggest needs are to be able to continue doing this for all of these different organizations?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So we are fortunate in that we had some seed funding to get started, and that's very rare. And we're so fortunate that it existed. But that seed funding will over time sunset, and so we, like the organizations we support, are engaging in some serious fund development work to make sure that we can sustain the work. And so over the next couple of years, as that seed funding steps out, we'll be looking to fill that gap with new funders. And so, like every nonprofit I've ever encountered and worked with, the parallel tracks you're trying to navigate, or multiple parallel tracks, are serving the mission. So doing the actual work and delivering programs and services to the community, and fundraising for that work right alongside. And if I could just get up on my soapbox for 2 seconds, I think that it's critical that the funding community recognizes that operational funding is very much needed, because without the people that run these organizations, that deliver these programs and services, without infrastructure, without adequate support for their ability and capacity to do that work, then it doesn't exist. So while the funding trends used to be more program or project oriented, it makes sense. We want to fund this program. We want to fund this project. Very much needed, of course. I hope that there will be a continued shift and recognition for the fact that funding just to exist and to be a business, the nonprofits at the end of the day are a business. We just have a different tax structure, and we support our work through the charitable giving of the community. So it's important that we be, as nonprofits, the most effective and efficient businesses that we can be, so that we're a good investment for community giving. So it truly takes a village. It takes these really dedicated, committed folks in our community that you talk to through this platform doing the work, but it takes a committed community of donors, individual donors, corporate sponsors, major donors, foundations, a whole portfolio of organizations supporting that work. I was on my soapbox for more than 2 seconds. I'm sorry.
You get to say whatever you want in this.
And it's an important comment to make. I completely agree. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Molly, this has been absolutely amazing. What you're doing is truly good work. And we are so grateful that you are now part of the Cheers for Charity family officially. And
100.
Right? And thank you for
100.
supporting us. You've been so great about getting out the word about our initiative and helping us find wonderful organizations to profile. So thank you for all the good work you do in our community all the time. And we loved having you here.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'll keep the names coming because we have a pipeline of about 40 organizations that we're talking to that we've never heard of. So they're still coming.
Fantastic. More people
Well,
do
then
more
we'll
good.
be doing this for a while, huh?
Love it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Molly.